Welcome to the Cosmic Busker. My name is Bobby Cody. American Mars Base and the monolith on Mars. The evidence. Recently, it was December 10th, Haim Eshed, he is the head of the Israeli space systems, the Space Department. That's the Israeli department that is their space force, essentially. He stated several things. He said there's a Galactic Federation. I've done a video in that regard. I'll post a card up to it right now. So if you're interested, you could take a look at that video that I've done on regarding what is the Galactic Federation. In that same interview in an Israeli newspaper, he also stated that the Americans have had a base on Mars for many decades that they share with a Nordic extraterrestrial species. Now, Nordic means blonde-haired, blue-eyed, light-skinned extraterrestrial species. So now, seems somewhat out there, but again, this is a guy who is the head of Israeli space operations. This is a highly credentialed individual, and he's not the first person who has said something like that. As I stated, I've done a video on this before called the What is the Galactic Federation. Take a look at that if you want a little bit more information in that regard. I'm not going to go into that in depth. But what I wanted to look at in this video is first the American base. I want to take a look at the evidence for the American base. We're going to ultimately lead up to pictorial evidence. I'm going to show you a photo taken of that American base on Mars. But first, I want to go into some historical aspects on this and show how the history of spaceflight and exploration of Mars strongly suggests this as well. So I'm going to take you through that evidence right now. I've never seen anybody talk about this. This is my own interpretation of the evidence. So you're getting something very unique you won't find anywhere else. What I've done is I've taken a list of missions to Mars. The two big players in this regard are America and the Soviet Union, which is now Russia. Previously, it was the Soviet Union. First, what I want to do is take you through the Russian missions to Mars. Okay, put up right there, right now, a spreadsheet that I created. I downloaded a list of all of the missions to Mars by the Soviet Union, aka also Russia, which is now Russia. So this list right here, this spreadsheet lists each one of them from 1960 to 1971. And in the fifth column there, if you take a look at the fifth column, I changed the text to either red or blue, depending on whether it was a success or a failure. And what you see in that fifth column is almost all of them are red, failures. Failure, 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 success. Failure, success, success. Over and over again, the Soviet missions to Mars failed. The three successes on this particular spreadsheet, which ends in 1971, I'm going to take you to another spreadsheet, which will cover the years after 1971. But those three successes on the bottom of the spreadsheet weren't really successes. One of them, the craft orbited a few times and then it failed. They called that a success. The second one orbited a few times and then failed. They call it a success. The final one on the bottom that's considered a success is the first time they put something on Mars successfully. It lasted for 15 seconds and then failed. So essentially, the three successes you have weren't really overwhelming successes. They were barely even successes. So what you have essentially is almost all failures with Soviet missions to Mars. Now we're going to go to a second spreadsheet, which will cover from 1971 till 2011. List them there. There's actually one at the very bottom there. 2016 was a European-Russian joint mission, so I'm not going to cover that one. That one was a success, but that's in 2016. Forgetting that one in 2016, you take a look at that fifth column again, all red. From 1971 to 2011, every single one was a failure. Soviet Union, aka Russia, could not put anything on Mars. It just kept on failing over and over and over again. There was one that's considered a partial, there's actually a couple considered partial failures on this list. We'll take a look at that after we go to another spreadsheet that I want to show you, because that one is very, very significant for what happens, and not only out there on Mars, what happened on Mars, but how I believe it's changed international relations in a manner that shook up the world. We'll get to that in a moment. Right now I want to go to another set of spreadsheets that I created. This second set of spreadsheets I created is a list of American missions to Mars. In this spreadsheet, I'm new to using spreadsheets on Mac. I'm used to using spreadsheets on Windows, and I no longer use Windows. So the color system I used on this spreadsheet is a little different. But as you can see, what I did with this one, this is the American missions to Mars on this spreadsheet. Again, it's the fifth column. And take a look at the fifth column there. It tells whether there's successes or failures. I highlighted this cell in red if it was a failure. And then I just left it yellow if it was a success. Look at that. 2 failures. This is from 1964 to 1975, this particular spreadsheet. 2 failures. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 successes. So where Soviet Union, aka Russia, was failure after failure after failure, America was success after success after success. A couple failures, but far overshadowed by the successes. So that's in 1975. The last one is Viking 2 lander, 1975. That was an overwhelming success. Now we'll go to the next spreadsheet over here. Again, what we see 4 of the cells are marked in red as failures for America, but we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, it's a 3, 6, 9 successes. So again, 4 failures, but 9 successes, overwhelming success, and that's from 1990. This is from 92 to 2007. America has had overwhelming success over and over and over and over and over again. So the question becomes, and matter of fact, I'll go to the third spreadsheet here. These are from 2007 till 2018. Again, you can take a look. It's success, 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 success. American missions to Mars have just overwhelmingly succeeded. Now, what you need to do is take a look at that within the framework of what this Israeli space security head said. He said that America has had a base on Mars for decades with these Nordic extraterrestrials. So, since way back in like the 50s and 60s. So we've had this base on Mars. When we're sending our craft to Mars, that's just like a feint. We've already got something on there. We've got astronauts on a base on Mars. And just for public consumption, we've been sending these trips to Mars, these Voyager 1, Voyager 2. And our guys on Mars are like, yeah, come on, yeah, they make sure that it lands okay. We're already there. They're already there. Like, oh yeah, come on, they make sure that they're already there, so they make sure our operations there become successful. America was in a Cold War for decades with the Soviet Union. So that we got Americans on that base on Mars. Soviets send their spacecraft to Mars, and our American guys in the Mars base said, no, we're going to make sure that fails. We'll shoot it down, because they had advanced craft there under this, especially the Nordic Extraterrestrials. They've had a base on Mars, and they're from another star system. They've got high technology that can just blast these Soviet spacecraft out of the air. So what happens? That's why every single one of these Soviet missions to Mars failed. Because we've been there secretly on this base on Mars for decades with Nordic Extraterrestrials, presumably, according to Haim Eshed, this Israeli space security head. So that's where I'm going to take you through something else now. One of the partial successes, they considered a partial success, was the Phobos 2 mission. It was a Russian mission, or Soviet mission, I should say. It was a Soviet mission to Mars. It was called the Phobos 2 spacecraft. The Phobos 2 spacecraft, I'm going to put up from Wikipedia here and read it off real quick. Phobos 2 is the last space probe designed by the Soviet Union. Okay? It's important to remember. Last one designed by the Soviet Union. Designed to explore the moons of Mars, Phobos, and Deimos. It was launched on the 12th of July, 1988, and entered orbit on 29 July, 1989. Phobos 2 operated nominally throughout its cruise and Mars orbital insertion phases on 29th of January, 1989, gathering data on the Sun, interplanetary medium, Mars, and Phobos. Phobos 2 investigated the Mars surface and atmosphere and returned 37 images of Phobos with a resolution of up to 40 meters. Shortly before the final phase of the mission, during which the spacecraft was to approach within 50 meters of Phobos' surface and release 2 landers, it was going to land on the Martian moon. Phobos is a Martian moon, Deimos is the other Martian moon. Contact with Phobos 2 is lost. So just before it was going to land on this Martian moon of Phobos, contact was lost. The mission ended when the spacecraft signal failed to be successfully required on the 27th of March, 1989. According to Wikipedia here, the cause of the failure was determined to be a malfunction on the onboard computer. Now, I want to talk about the 2 moons of Mars because it's important to understand why there's such curious moons. The Mars moons Phobos and Deimos are essentially asteroids that appear to have been captured. They're very tiny, small asteroid-like objects that orbit Mars, and they shouldn't be there. According to the science of gravity, as we understand it, and as it's been described by many scientists, these moons of Mars should have crashed into Mars a long time ago. They should have just, boom, done. They're no longer moons. Something is keeping them in orbit. And the suggestion by many elite scientists is that these aren't necessarily natural objects. They're natural objects, asteroids, that were hollowed out and made into spacecraft. So they're asteroids, but hollowed out on the inside, and then made spacecrafts that can fly around, and that's why they haven't crashed into Mars. There's actually individuals in there piloting them, orbiting Mars, essentially acting as watchers of Mars. They're They're monitoring Mars, essentially. So that's why it's been such a race to investigate these two moons. And so then the question becomes, all right, well, what happened to that the Phobos 2? It was about to send the landers down onto Phobos. Then they lost contact completely. According to Wikipedia, they claim it's a malfunction. Now, this was in 1989. The next year, 1989, did I say 1980? This is 1988 with the Phobos. In 1989, Soviet Union crashed. There's essentially a revolution, and Soviet Union no longer came to be, and communism in the Soviet Union ended. Now, after that, what essentially, the Soviet Union was essentially, it was called the Iron Curtain. And we didn't get a lot of information. The Soviets held behind their Iron Curtain all their information. There wasn't a lot of information coming out or going into the Soviet Union. It was a very totalitarian, lockdown type of nation. So we didn't know a lot about what was particularly going on with their spacecraft or what was going on inside the Soviet Union. But after the Soviet Union fell, information came about their missions to Mars and what happened, in particular what happened with this Phobos 2. I'm going to put up a photo up there right now. Just before their Phobos 2 spacecraft was set to go onto Phobos and land on Phobos and investigate what was going on at Phobos, it caught this photograph of what is being described as a UFO. And it caught this photograph of the UFO, and then boom. And the allegation is that this UFO, this spacecraft, was flying towards the Soviet spacecraft and shot it out of the air to make sure it didn't land on Phobos. So now, under this hypothesis, where Americans have a base on Mars, you have to say, wow, well, and this base is in conjunction with Nordic Extraterrestrials, they shot it down. They didn't want the Soviets or Russians landing on Mars, on the Phobos, finding out that it's a spacecraft and not a natural moon, so they shot it down. And there we have a photo of it. So, and again, this was 1988. I have to think that this played a significant part in the fall of the Soviet Union as well. I think that, while there's all this competition on Earth between the Soviet Union and the United States, the real competition was out in space and getting to Mars. And the fact that the Americans had this base on Mars with the Nordic Extraterrestrials, and failure after failure for the Soviets and success after success for the Americans. And finally, we actually shot down one of their Russian spacecraft, and they got pictures of it, and they knew it. They're like, we give up. We're done. I think that played the pivotal role in ending the Soviet Union. So now, not only is there this hypothesis that this Phobos, this moon of Mars, is actually a hollowed out asteroid spacecraft that's been made into a spacecraft, it also has something very, very unusual on it. I'm going to put up a photo of it right now. It's a monolith. For some reason, there's this huge, massive monolith sticking up off of the surface of Phobos. And you can see how big it is. You can see the shadow as well. You don't know what it is, but it appears to be artificial, almost certainly. We'll get to more. Matter of fact, I'm going to cut to it right now. We're going to cut to the gentleman is Buzz Aldrin. I've had a few synchronicities with Buzz Aldrin. Matter of fact, I'm going to cut right now. I'm not going to cut to it. I'm going to put up a card. I've done several videos called Ancient Mars Civilization, A Timeline of Discovery. It's about 2 hours worth of videos. Original my own creation about Mars and this ancient Martian civilization which once existed there, and the overwhelming evidence in that regard. If you click on that, I'll put up a card for the playlist, but if you click on that and go down to the fifth video, I talk about Buzz Aldrin and some interesting synchronicities I've had with regard to him. One of the most recent is the fact that we both, I was living in Montclair, which is his hometown. I was living in Montclair, homeless for the past 3 or 4 years. So we'll cut to Buzz Aldrin right now, an interview on C-SPAN where he talked about this monolith on Mars. And then we'll come back and I'm going to show you a few photographs of the American base on Mars and what I think is the American base on Mars. It's pretty apparent that it's some type of base on Mars. I think it's the American base. And then we'll wrap this up.
Develop the moon. We should go boldly where man has not gone before. Fly by the comets, visit asteroids, visit the moon of Mars. There's a monolith there, a very unusual structure on this little potato-shaped object that goes around Mars once in 7 hours. When people find out about that, they're going to say, who put that there? Who put that there? Well, the universe put it there. If you choose, God put it there. Maybe.
All right, so there we have Buzz Aldrin talking about the monolith on Mars, which is actually on Phobos. So now we're going to take a look at some photos of what I think is the American base on Mars. These photographs are from NASA. They're directly from NASA's website. I'm not going to give the direct link to those, but down below I will link to where I got these photos from. These photos come from Joseph Skipper. May he rest in peace. Joseph Skipper did some great work. His website was Mars Anomaly Research.com. He would download these photos on Mars and he would go through them and he found all kinds of amazing things. And one of the things, he didn't know what he found at the time. He knew it was some type of artificial structure and some type of artificial scientific research going on. He didn't know what it was. Now, after everything that's happened, I'm certain this is the American base on Mars that they share with the Nordic Extraterrestrials. First, I'm going to put up here what Joseph Skipper found in these Mars photos. This is a satellite photo. We have the Mars orbiter. It's an American spacecraft. It's been orbiting successfully for years and years. The Russians couldn't put one up that orbited for 10 days. We've had them orbiting for years and years. No problem, the Americans. This particular photo, take a look at that. It's some type of nozzle shooting some type of liquid up into the air. It's not a trick of light, because if you take a close look at it, you can see the nozzle, you can see it spraying, and you can see the spray begin to disperse up in the air, and if you look very closely, you can see the shadows underneath it too. So that lets you know the three-dimensional aspect of it, that it is actually sticking up in the air, it's shooting into the air, and it creates a shadow. Okay? So whoa, okay, there's a nozzle shooting something into the air. That's artificial, no question about it. Right near there is this. It's a dome. Now, Skipper talks about how it's natural looking, but he goes through it where he says, this is no question, it's a dome. I'm not going to go into the specifics and the details of it. Again, I post a link down below. He writes a lengthy analysis of these photos, and he also provides the link to the NASA webpage where he gets these photos from. So you can actually go click on that link and download these Mars photos as well and look at them yourself. They're huge, absolutely huge. These are small portions of it. I've done this a long time ago. I didn't do it this time. I did this years ago and downloaded these. Hopefully NASA hasn't gotten rid of them yet. So, you know, this I'm certain is right here. This is a dome structure. I'm certain, and that's this dome structure. Right near it is that nozzle shooting the water up. I'm certain this is the American base on Mars, and they share with Nordic Extraterrestrials. And there's actually, I've talked about these individuals before. There's a group called Farsight. They do what's called remote viewing. They've done their remote viewing on this area as well, and they identify it as some type of base as well. And if I remember correctly, it's been some time since I've watched their video. If I remember correctly, they identified numerous different types of individuals in there, including humans and Nordic extraterrestrials. If I'm able to find it, I will provide a card up there so that you can take a look at Farsight's remote viewing of this area as well to see what they determined. But that's the American base on Mars. I'm certain of it. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was educational. Like, share, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. I'm going to post down below in the description as well a link to my PayPal. If you'd like to help out, it'd be much appreciated. I could use the money, as everybody can, certainly in these tough times. So, you know, only help out if you're able to. Take care of yourself and your own, first and foremost. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Have a good day, and I'm hopefully going to have another video up very soon for you.